That's what Trump's tariffs are. People misunderstand these tariffs, right?
All right.
And
Explain them to us.
It's pissing me off because you got all these economists out there and you got all these voices that want to say that Trump's going to destroy our economy.
Andy Bustamante says no.
Andy says no. The tariffs have nothing to do with generating tax revenue. That's what we tell everybody they're supposed to do. Because if, like, at an elementary level, we all understand tariffs cost money. Tariffs earn money. So you got to give that to the 80% that don't understand the real purpose of the tariffs.
That's right.
The actual purpose of the tariffs is because now, by inflating everybody's expenses, you have artificial leverage to get what you want, because you can say, hey, if you cooperate with me, I'll take your tariffs away. Does that make sense?
Yes. 100%.
Anybody who's ever bought fucking jeans that were on sale or shoes that were on sale understands this. The shoes that you buy don't cost $150 to make. They cost like $25 to make. And then the price is artificial. So they can say your $25 pair of shoes is worth $150, but today they're on sale for $70. Yes. And then you go out and you buy the fucking shoes.
Yes.
That's all these tariffs are. He's just inflating the prices everywhere to get everyone to acquiesce to his demands to lower the tariffs. You're seeing it in India. You're seeing it in China. You're seeing it all over Southeast Asia. You're seeing it across Europe. People are bitching about it, but that's exactly what it's supposed to do. It's basic economics based on Porter's 5 principles of power. He's just executing it as a government.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. We're going to come back to USAID, everyone. Don't worry. I want to stay with this stuff. So I think I totally get what he's trying to do. It makes 100% sense. I think the marketing behind it and the speed and, I don't know, like kind of bull in a China shop, no pun intended, with which he's done it, has given him undue blowback, because obviously, like, it economically shocked the system. Now, do you think there was a way, though, to maybe slowly, I don't want to say like make it so obvious, like country by country or something like that, but more slowly ice the rollout here over like an 18-month period or something like that, so that you kind of you accomplish the same end goal, but maybe it takes a little longer and you don't have the pain in the short term?
This is a perfect example of the difference between Donald Trump and your typical American politician. Your typical American politician, the presidents that we've seen going back as long as professional politics have existed, spend months making promises and then they underdeliver.
Right.
Right? So they slow roll everything because they put so much effort into the PR machine. They put so much effort into getting the hearts and minds of the American people and ensuring that they're not going to like ruin the mid-cycle elections and blah, 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 because the parties are always in control.
Yeah.
So we've watched as slow things never really actually make a difference. And we've watched it for a long time. Obamacare was fast, right? And lots of people didn't like it. Lots of people did like it, but it was fast and disruptive.
Yes.
It also set a precedent now for, hey, presidents can do fast and disruptive things when they control both the House and the Senate.
When did you get that done? Like 2010?
2008? Oh, yeah. I think it was 2010.
It's like within a year.
Yeah, it was fast.
Yeah.
So that set a precedent that was then used by all subsequent presidents. Donald Trump's just following the same pattern now. He knows, could he have slowed it down? Yes. Could they have put a bunch of time into the PR machine and gotten the hearts and minds of people? Probably. But how much damage to the economy would have been done in that period of time? Any CEO who's ever had to turn a business around understands that you can't worry about people's feelings when you're trying to save the business. When you're trying to turn the business and make it profitable, you cut what you've got to cut, you do what you've got to do, you work as hard as you have to work to make it happen.
The pushback there would be that part of his promise in coming in is he's like, I'm going to fix the economy. It's going to be great. You're going to be rich. And in the short term, you have people like the guys who are going to make money on this, hopefully what is a short-term economic downturn we've seen right here. And I'm just really talking about the stock market at a high level. Like the guys who are going to make money are the people who are already rich. It's the hedge fund guys of the world because they know, like, all right, we're going to lose 20, 25% buying opportunity. The people who lose more are the middle class and people who have 401ks to worry about, and they're trying to retire by 65, and they're 61 right now, and suddenly they're down 20% in their portfolio, and it's just human nature. They sell, and then they get fucked, and a lot of those people are the people that voted for them. So I agree with you. All these politicians, they make these promises. They say, we're going to roll this out, and then they do it real slowly, and they keep on like, and then until they don't do anything. But if you did have a set, like kind of, not that you'd share it with the world to say, here's our chess moves, what we're going to do, but you had a set, I'm just using a round number, 18-month plan or something like that, where you could kind of go like in this area of the world, in that area of the world, maybe that could work better, no?
strategically, for the purposes of leverage, it would not work better. For the purposes of public support, sure, it might work better. But what does Donald Trump also know the day that he took office? He's got 4 years.
Yeah.
He can piss off everybody, right? There's a concept that we have at the agency called the last impression is the impression that lasts. The last impression is the impression that lasts. Everybody, you're middle class, which I laugh at, because if you're part of the middle class, you've already lost. If you're trying to be part of the middle class, you've already lost. Like, the middle class is just, it's an artificial bubble that we talk about, that we glorify, that actually doesn't have any real impact on economy.
Why do you say that?
Because the top 2% are the ones that handle the vast majority. They handle 98% of the money.
Why do you say they've lost, though? Strictly on a monetary basis?
They've lost because they don't have the power they want to have. They've lost on several different levels, right? Your average middle class employee works their ass off, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, to make $200,000 a year, right? If that. When you actually break down their per hour rate, they don't make that much more per hour than somebody who's not part of the middle class, but who only works 35 hours or 30 hours a week. That's why you've seen this move towards young people who want to be partially retired, right? Because they understand, like, oh, I could be 50 earning $55 an hour working 70-hour weeks, or I could be, 30 earning $35 an hour working 10 hours a week. And I'd rather, make $35 an hour and live in Costa Rica than live in a big house in Boston and work my ass off all the time, right?
Yeah.
That's why I say that's just one of many reasons why the middle class hurts. The middle class is smart enough to make money, but not smart enough to manage their own money. So then they have to give it to somebody in a 401k or somewhere else for them to manage their money. But they can't afford the most skilled investors, so they have to go with whoever the bulk investors are. And the bulk investors don't really care about you as an individual. They care about their entire portfolio. Yeah. So you just see it. You see it over and over again. So who's going to make the faster, stronger financial decision? The most elite investors. The most elite investors are handling money for the super wealthy. The super wealthy know how to manage their own money, so they know how to pick the right people. Middle class doesn't get to do any of that. They go with whatever the 401k is that their employer provided. They say, I'll put 80% in high risk and 20% in low risk or whatever else based on my age. They're already lost, right? Like the real divide in the United States isn't racial. It's socioeconomic.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Well, if you say of course, then you already understand what I'm saying when I say the middle class is lost.
I see what you're saying. I think you're putting it in a little bit of a exaggerated way, and what I mean by that is you're strictly looking at it from what is their effect on the economy, and therefore what our country does on a decision-making basis versus what about everything else in life, including the things that their labor does support, right? Because it's not like...
Yeah, what else do you value?
Statistically, though, Andy, you're never going to have a society where 50% of people are wealthy as fuck and making decisions.
No.
It's just math.
Correct.
Right? So the vast majority of America is a part of the middle class or lower class, right? And these are the people that are making up the voting blocks, and these are the people that are hoping that their next generation has a better opportunity than they do. So I think when we say like they're already lost, it's overlooking like looking towards the future and the opportunity and to be able to build the American dream and have a bigger percentage than maybe 2% at the top. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. I don't understand. Outside of the ideological like fluff that's coming out of your mouth right now, I'm not seeing anything objective. What is it?
That's what
like,
you do.
What is it in the American dream that you believe people are trying to achieve if it isn't wealth? They're trying to achieve what?
Wealth is a huge part of it.
That's the economy, man.
For sure.
So then what's the second largest, let's say? What's the third largest? What are some other things in the American dream that people are trying to achieve?
Well, I think wealth helps with your comfort, right? Which helps with number 2. Part of the American dream is being able to live free and happy, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay. I think that's a huge tenet of it. And to be fair, if you're working 40 hours a week on a job paying $10 an hour, you don't feel very free, you don't have financial freedom, and you probably have you're more likely to have less happiness.
Same thing is true for the person who's making $200,000 a year working 65 hours a week.
If they're working 65, there are some people that do, you're right.
But I'm just saying, once again, If you think that it's rare for people to work 60 hours a week,
I don't think it's rare.
Yeah.
I'm saying you're more likely if you're making $200,000 a year in this country that is not a business that you run yourself, you're more likely to be working 50, 55, something like that.
But same thing is true though. You're working 55 hours a week. Let's just say you're making 200K. That sacrifice of the extra 15 hours a week that you're working over a 40-hour a week job takes away from your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, just like you're talking about.
Sure.
Right? It is a very small contingent of people who actually work in a closed environment, responsible to other people, less than 20 hours, and make millions a year, right? That's a very small contingent. Most people, the wealthier they get, the less time they have to spend pursuing the other things, right? The wealth is what they're pursuing. So when you say that there's other parts of the American dream, all I'm saying is all the other parts of the American dream rely on the foundation of wealth.
Right.
And that's just the reality of it. If people don't like that, they're allowed not to like it, but it doesn't change the facts.
When did you start seeing the world this way?
CIA, 100% CIA. I believed in ideology. I was an ideologue. That's why I joined CIA.
You joined the Peace Corps.
That's fair.
On brand.
Fair. Let's stay on brand. That's why I tried.
On brand.
That's why I tried to serve the betterment of the world and humankind, right? By signing up for the Peace Corps, by applying to the Peace Corps. But when I actually joined CIA and I saw that human beings work the same way, right? And I'll be the first to admit, CIA trained me, and I rejected the training. I was like, "This is."
You rejected it.
Oh yeah, I was like, "This is baloney." Just like you are now, right? You're like, "Oh no, there's more to it. It's more nuanced. It's more complicated. What about this? And what about the American dream? And what about all?" Like, I totally was in the same boat, and not just me. Most of the recruits were like, "What? No, people can't be that simple. People can't be that stupid. People can't be that predictable." And we go through this training process, and we exercise the skills. And even when you go through the training part of the farm, and you learn the skills and you exercise the skills against role players and against, senior intelligence officers, and you're like, okay, I'm dancing the dance, but no way is this real. It's kind of like learning a foreign language. I don't know if have you learned a foreign language?
I used to speak Italian really well.
So you learn a foreign language, and as you learn it, you're thinking to yourself, really, right? Like, oh, it's not this word, it's that word. It's not this word, it's that word. You learn it based off of technicality. But then you go to the country where it's spoken and you realize, oh shit, this isn't a technicality. Like this is a real skill. It becomes real. It becomes personal. You see your own flaws and your own misunderstandings in the language. Because even though you may be getting straight A's in Italian for 3 years in school, once you fucking land in Rome, you're like, I don't know how to speak this language. Like,
yeah. They sing it. It's a natural flow. You can't be translating in your head. 100% agree.
Yeah. So anybody who's had a language experience knows what that's like.
Yes.
That is exactly what it's like to go to CIA. You learn the technicalities of human recruitment. You learn the technicalities of motivations and vulnerabilities. You learn the technicalities of getting people to exchange information of value for assets of value. You go through it and you learn the words. And then you actually deploy and it becomes super real. And you're like, holy shit, this is really how it works. And then when you come back from an operation, you're still in operation mode. So you come back to the United States, you come back to CIA headquarters a lot of times, and you still need to get shit done. So then you start using the same skills that you used abroad here at home, and they work here too. And now you can
get what kinds of skills?
Like when it comes to manipulating a budget and finance person to approving your expense sheet faster than somebody else who turned their expense sheet in earlier than you did. It's the same process as getting someone to give you secrets overseas, right? It's all about exchanging value. It's all about building rapport. It's all about developing social capital and leveraging that social capital. It's about understanding what makes people feel excited and what makes them feel guilty, what makes them feel powerful and what makes them feel weak. And then like pushing the chips on the board around just enough. It's like the Zen raking garden thing. Yeah. That's exactly what it's like for every individual. You rake this garden for that person, and then you erase the garden, and you rake this garden for that person, and you erase the garden. It's all the same rake. It's all the same square. It's all the same sand. It just literally works on every person.
But you rejected what CIA was teaching you
when I was in the agency. Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Like, I learned it. I believed it wasn't true. I tried to fight against it. I tried to make it work my own way. I was not popular at CIA. That's why I love being not popular out of CIA. It's like, fucking no matter where I go, nobody
You look
likes
at me like I'm going to be surprised about that.
So that's what makes the whole Bustamante thing really funny to me, because there's just as many people inside CIA that hate it every time I appear on podcast.
Right.
But my point is, I didn't believe any of it. I had to go through the dance steps to get the grades so that I could be deployed. But then when I was deployed, that's when I was like, well, fuck this.
They were right.
They were right. And that's not the first time. I've always been kind of hard-headed that way, but CIA is why I play the game now for everything else. Because I just grew up and I was like, there's a game, I got to play it if I'm going to win.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer and I never went to law school, but in speaking to a lot of lawyers, they give you a similar story about what happens to your brain when you go there, which is they beat into you like insane objectivity on everything to the point of like removing any and all emotions. And to the average person, at least the way it's been explained to me, maybe some lawyers in the comments can help us out here. It's like you reject that at first because you're like, wait, no, hold on. These are humans in the middle of this thing. But the whole point is that they're trying to prepare you for, you have a hearing at 9 a.m. Here's what's happening. Here's the technicalities that the law says that you have to take care of for this. Here's the potential outcomes, and you have to be ready for both and not feel anything about it.
Correct. If you're going to go to war with monsters, you have to be a monster.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to be a monster. You have to be a monster, Andy Bustamante.
So if you can't put a kinder, gentler person against an SVR officer.
Yes.
You can't put a kinder, gentler person against a Mossad officer. You can't put a kinder, gentler person against an MSS officer. They're going to get eaten up. And then when a U.S. intelligence officer gets eaten up, the U.S. national security infrastructure gets eaten up. And now Americans are more at danger. So it makes sense. If you're going to recruit somebody, knowing psychologically that they're capable of making the shift, all you have to do is force them to make the shift. And then you have a wall, right? And then you have gladiators in arena, if you will, in the world of intelligence. Right?